Now in St. Louis, you have a lot of different places you could pick from when you live here, and choosing the right place for you is important, but it's also helpful to know which places you don't want to live. In this video, I'm going to give you a broad overview of the St. Louis area, what the layout is like, and give you a better sense of where things are located and what neighborhoods look like if you're moving here and you have no idea where you want to live. You're trying to figure out what St. Louis is like. This is going to be kind of like a high-level intro to the St. Louis area. Then we're going to hop onto my computer and I'm going to share my screen to show you the map and, dive a little bit deeper into St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. Those three specifically because those are the top areas people are moving to when they move to St. Louis. And those are the areas we get the most questions about, at least based on personal experience working with people moving to the area. Now, the St. Louis metropolitan area is the 23rd largest metro in the US. It's not like we're a top 10 city, but it's not small. I mean, there's about 2.8 million people living here. I mean, really, you could be probably an hour and a half outside the city of St. Louis, but still be within the greater metropolitan area of St. Louis. And there are hundreds of different towns with a different personality and different look and style everywhere you go. And I think St. Louis is a lot bigger and a lot more spread out than most people realize. Because yes, you do have the city of St. Louis, but then you have a lot more stuff going on outside the city once you get into the suburbs and the exurbs of St. Louis. I'm not going to get super specific about every individual town and neighborhood because that would take like 6 hours to get through. And my stamina for being on video is like 30-40 minutes max. So check the description down below for the chapters. I'll give you the timestamps for different parts of the video. That way you can skip ahead to whatever area you want. By the way, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jacob. I didn't say that before. Let's get right to it. So first things first, St. Louis, there we go. Obviously it's on the map. When we talk about St. Louis, or when you hear me say the St. Louis area, it includes 12 different counties and it's split between the Missouri side and the Illinois side. So the Illinois side, the Metro East, accounts for about 25% of the metro population. In this video, I'm really focusing on the Missouri side. That's where I live, that's where my group does business, and that's where we help people who are moving to the area. If you're looking at the Illinois side, that's going to be things like East St. Louis, Belleville, Edwardsville. So St. Louis City is really the urban hub. St. Louis County is the immediate surrounding suburbs. And then a step beyond that is more like the exurbs where you're like a step beyond the suburbs. First things first, I want to give you a lay of the land and talk about the highways and the layout of the area. So going in and out of the city, you're going to have Highway 70 up here. If you take 70 west, that'll take you through Columbia and then to Kansas City. You could also take it east and go up a little bit, and that'll take you into Indianapolis. Then you've got 6440, which is your next artery going in and out of the city. You will hear people call it either Highway 40 or Interstate 64. A lot of people born and raised in St. Louis will say 40. That's one of the main highways that'll go pretty much right through all the main parts of St. Louis. So it'll take you, from downtown all the way out west through St. Louis County and St. Charles County. So that's another big one. Down below that, you have 44 right here. That goes towards the southwest. So again, it'll take you through St. Louis County, and then you can continue that, and it'll take you through Springfield, Missouri, and then Tulsa, which is the next main city along 44. And then you've also got 55 down here, which is kind of the southernmost artery. So those are kind of the four main interstates going in and out of the city. And then you've got Interstate 270, which is kind of your inner ring around St. Louis. So if you're out in the suburbs, it'll go north to south. And then if you go far enough north or far enough south, it turns east to west. And then if we zoom in a little bit, you have a bunch of other main roads going both east to west and north to south. So 67 right here, that's Lindbergh, and then 141. Those are two big ones going north to south. And then right here, 340, aka Olive Boulevard, aka Clarkson Road, aka Kiefer Creek Road. Goes by many names. That's a common thing you'll see in St. Louis. And then also Manchester, which is also Highway 100. So those are some of the main roads that are non-interstates. With any of those, you're going to be hitting a lot of stoplights if you're trying to get around town with them. They're all pretty busy at times. And then going out to St. Charles County, you have a 70 going kind of along the northern edge, and then 64, which kind of takes you around the western side of St. Charles County. When you're moving to St. Louis and you're trying to figure out where to live, the three biggest factors that will probably lean you towards one direction or another is going to be, first of all, work. So if you or your spouse, if you have one, have to commute somewhere for work, whether it's to an office, hospital, if you have meetings that happen in a certain place, that's obviously going to be the first big thing to think about. Ideally, you probably want to pay attention to if it's close to any of these main arteries, because that'll help you cut down that commute time. Second thing is school. So if you're here for school yourself, or if you have kids and you want them to be in a certain school district or a certain private school, that's going to be the second big thing you want to think about location-wise. And then the third is family, if that applies to you. So if you have family somewhere in or around the St. Louis area, obviously it's great if all three of those locations are in the same vicinity, but I'm not gonna lie, we've had a decent number of people who, for example, one or both spouses have to go downtown for work, and then they have a bunch of family living in Wentzville and Lake St. Louis. So between downtown right here and then out in Wentzville, that's about a 40-mile difference. That will probably take about 45 minutes if there's no traffic. You can either go 64 all the way or 70 pretty much all the way. And then if you're commuting either way during rush hour, it'll definitely be upwards of an hour. And with a situation like that, I mean, it really depends on, would you rather be close to work or to family? Completely up to you. But really, there are dozens of different places you could choose in between either one. So narrowing down that list really comes into, personal preferences as far as the style of neighborhood you want, budget, what kind of things do you want to be close to as far as amenities, activities, shopping, all that good stuff. So there's a lot to think about. And by the way, if you are moving to St. Louis and you're going through the same process of trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to live? What do I want to be close to? What highways are going to be near me? If you want help with that process, just send us an email or send us a text. My colleagues and I are a real estate team here in St. Louis, and working with our clients who reach out through the YouTube channel is what we're all about. So if you want help, holler at us. If you're buying a house or a condo or building a new house here in St. Louis, we can absolutely help with that, and we would love to work with you. All right, moving on. So that's kind of a lay of the land. Now I want to talk about the city, first of all. So St. Louis, the city right here, believe it or not, is kind of a small percentage of the population of the St. Louis area. So like I said, it's about 2.8 million people across 12 counties. The city of St. Louis itself is like maybe 10% of that. If you're interested in living in the city, we see a lot of people that want to live in the city for that city lifestyle, a more urban feel than you're going to find in the suburbs. You're going to be close to all of the typical St. Louis things, all the attractions, the sports games, the zoo, the museums, the food scene. You just have so much stuff going on in the city, and that is definitely a really big appeal as far as lifestyle goes. Now, within the city of St. Louis, you have dozens and dozens of different neighborhoods that are all very unique. St. Louis is not really a big city feel, but if you want that really urban, big city-ish feel, you're gonna have that mostly downtown right here. So obviously, that's where you have a lot of office space, your mid-rise and high-rise buildings, or Central West End. So those two areas are kind of the closest you can get to that big city feel. Outside of that, a lot of what you will see in the city of St. Louis is going to be these historic brick homes. And the cool thing is they're all going to have a different style, a different personality, different types of people living there. So for example, you have Lafayette Square, you have Soulard, Tower Grove East, Tower Grove South. In the cities where you're going to have a lot of that local charm, being able to walk down the street to a cute little coffee shop or a bookstore on the corner. Lots of fun nightlife, bars, restaurants. Every neighborhood has a different set of options for going out, having a good time. Even stuff like museums, shopping centers. A lot of these neighborhoods have a little neighborhood park, either in the neighborhood or somewhere near the neighborhood. Really, every neighborhood is kind of a little community of its own. And then Forest Park is obviously a huge draw to the area, whether you want to live somewhere near the park or you want to make a habit of going there on the weekends, because there genuinely is so much stuff to do. You have the Muni, the Jewel Box, museums, tennis courts, ice skating rink, golf, miles and miles of walking trails. It is huge. And that is one of the coolest parts of St. Louis, is just having the ability to live near the park or within a quick drive of the park. Like, let's say, Tower Grove South, right? So if you're looking for a city neighborhood, you're going to see a lot more of these very typical St. Louis style houses. So you're going to see some of these brick bungalows, 2-story homes with the flat roofs. just the different layouts you're going to see. And then obviously here you have that city lifestyle with all of your businesses, coffee shops, bars, and restaurants with more of that local feel compared to the big chains. Out in St. Charles County, you're going to see more of that local style in St. Louis City. I mean, especially along Grand over here, this is going to be like your main strip. And again, I'm just picking the Tower Grove area to show you one example. Every neighborhood's going to be different. They're all going to have their different personalities, different kind of shops and businesses that you will find. So moving on from the city, we have the county. Now, the county is massive. You have 3 times more people who live in the county compared to the city, and it's also just way bigger. There are over 90 different municipalities within the county, so all of this is huge. The other thing to know is that within St. Louis County, you have 4 different areas. So you have Mid County, you have North County, you got South County, and then there's West County. Now, those are not official boundaries. In fact, sometimes you'll hear kind of debates as far as, is this North County? Is it West County? It's not necessarily an official classification so much as just kind of like a general area of where someone's from. So I mean, like Maryland Heights, you know, some people will call it North County, others will call it West County. You might hear people call it just Northwest County. Same thing with an area like Sunset Hills, like it's not really South County, not really West County. So let's talk about some of the differences. When you take into account where you have to be for work or for school or for family purposes, you might start to narrow down your area by North County, Mid County, West County, South County. When I say Mid County, really it's everything from the edge of St. Louis City all the way to about 270 or so. Some people will tell you it's a little bit beyond that. Some people might tell you it's a little bit before, but roughly like this little box right here in between Olive Boulevard and Manchester, Mid County. West County is going to be everything west of that. So North County is usually going to be anything above Page Avenue. So right here, kind of north of University City, also Highway D, and then it turns into 364. So that's usually the cutoff for North County, being north of that. And then South County, it's definitely south of 44, but how far south, you could debate. A lot of people will look in different parts of St. Louis County when they're moving here. So it's not like you have to confine yourself to just West County or just South County. One of the big differences to think about that will likely influence your decision is price. So you will see some very big differences in price throughout the county. Now, Mid County and West County are by far going to be more expensive than North County and South County. Anything right here through this central corridor along 6440, the closer you get to 6440, the more expensive it tends to get. So for example, somewhere like Clayton, Ladue, Frontenac, Town and Country, all located like right along this strip, some of the most expensive parts of St. Louis. Now, if you go a little bit north of that or a little bit south of that, so for example, U City, Olivet, Creve Coeur, you're a little bit north of that high concentration of expensive areas, but still not the cheapest parts of town. Same thing a little bit south, an area like Brentwood, Kirkwood, De Pere, still kind of in that central county area, but not as expensive as the like right smack in the middle of St. Louis County areas along that 6440 corridor. And then you go further west, you know, that's when you get into more actual West County. So Chesterfield and then Town and Country, still expensive areas. And then a little bit north, a little bit south of that, you get less expensive. So if you want to look at this on the map and see the numbers, you're going to notice a cutoff around the $300,000 to $350,000 price point. So if we look up to $300,000, there's not a ton going on in Mid County and West County. There's a little bit, but what you'll notice, you have a much larger concentration towards the north and then more options towards the south. Definitely more just as far as numbers in the north. Here, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it better. There's nothing really Clayton, Ladue, Frontenac that you're going to find, but if you go a little bit north of that, University City, Creve Coeur, some Maryland Heights, you'll start to see some. And same thing, if you go a little bit further down south, Richmond Heights, Brentwood, De Pere, Rock Hill, you start to see some more of those options pop up before you get into actual North County or actual South County. So that was up to 300,000. Now, if you look above 350, you will start to see the inverse. You will see a couple options above 350 in North County and a few pockets, same thing down here in South County, Slightly more options than North County above 350, but then you look in Mid County and West County, that's where the majority of your choices are in St. Louis County, at least. Now, St. Louis County is definitely the one area you will see more of a visible cutoff in terms of price. In St. Louis City, it's not as big of a difference. And in St. Charles County, there really isn't like a divide by area. St. Louis County is where you'll see a big difference in price between north, south, west, and then the mid-county area. So mid-county, like I said, that is really like your central area of wealth. Clayton is kind of like the economic hub of St. Louis County. It looks like a miniature city. It almost looks like a separate downtown St. Louis, but instead of being in the city, you're in St. Louis County. Within this whole area, you will see a bunch of choices from some of your more urban areas, such as Clayton, or some more of your suburban feel like Ladue, Frontenac, Town and Country. And then you could also pick an area still with that urban feel like Richmond Heights or Maplewood. Being closer to the city, you will notice it has more of that urban feel. The homes are closer together. You'll see some more options for condos and townhomes, whereas the further west you go into Mid-County and then into West County, it starts to get way more suburban, where you're looking at single-family homes with some townhome associations and condos, but mostly single family homes. One thing you'll notice across the board in St. Louis, most properties are going to have an HOA. That's something we've gotten questions about before. I know other states, maybe it's more common to find a house that does not belong to an HOA. In St. Louis, almost all the houses you're going to see have an HOA. Unless you're located on like a main road and you're not in an actual subdivision, then you might not have an HOA. But for the most part, if you are in a subdivision here in the St. Louis area, you're going to have an HOA with trustees that might be very nice, might be a big pain in the butt, and your dues could be anywhere from $200 a year to $2,000 a year. The high end is more for some of the like gated communities that have landscaping, snow removal, maintenance stuff included, or they have common grounds or community pools that your money goes towards. And basements. Basements are very common here in St. Louis. You will see some slab construction, but most of the time you're probably going to have a basement, whether you want that or you don't. Those two things are just kind of across the board. You'll see that in St. Louis. Now let's move on to North County. So North County is going to be up here. You got the airport. Anytime you're going in and out of St. Louis, the aerospace industry in St. Louis is a big thing. So we've had a lot of people moving to the North County area for work who work either at the airport or at Boeing. So let me switch to satellite just to show you a little bit easier. So you're going to have areas like Florissant right here, and then Hazelwood as kind of the biggest parts of North County. Further up you go, you have Old Jamestown all the way up there. And then you're going to have some smaller communities throughout the rest of North County. A lot of companies are based around the airport or have office space there. So like I said, that's one big thing drawing people here for work. Manufacturing, industrial space, office parks. You can see all this right here north of the airport. You also have Earth City over here, which is just kind of like industrial parks, warehouses, office centers. This isn't really a residential area at all, but those are two kind of hubs in North County that bring people to the area. Lower in price, absolutely, compared to Mid-County and West County. Lindbergh is kind of the main strip going through North County, so you have a lot of shopping centers, malls, grocery stores, gyms, all of that. And then you'll see homes, you know, on the older side with a few pockets of new development and new communities being built. Tends to be older and tends to be smaller. So, you know, just to kind of show you the comparison, I know it's hard to see, but these are a lot more ranches. With a single car carport, or some of them might have a double car garage. And then, like I said, you do have some pockets of newer built areas. Some areas like this, you will see some newer options. And I know there's one up here. It's probably not going to show on the map. Yeah. So again, like you do have some of these pockets, but it's not nearly as much as you will see in St. Charles County. Same with South County. You do have some pockets, especially, where is it? Afton, down here. So the Preserve is like one of those big ones. So just to kind of show you, if you're looking for a newer built house, this is kind of an example of the neighborhoods you will see a lot of. If you have questions about new construction, send us an email or send us a text. We do a lot of work with the builders here around St. Louis. Trust me, don't get me wrong. You do have options throughout St. Louis County. You do have some pockets in St. Louis City. That goes for South County too. Not as much new development happening as West County, and definitely not as much compared to St. Charles County, but you will definitely have pockets. So that's North County. And then if you take a look down in South County, again, you're going to see, like North County, lower priced homes, not as low as North County, but certainly not as expensive as the Mid-County and West County areas. Also, with South County, you're going to have 44 and 55 going into the city. So your commute time is going to be great compared to, West County, where you're going to probably be expecting 20 to 30 minutes of driving into the city. South County could be more like 5 to 15 minutes, depending on where you live. Now, most of South County compared to North County and West County is actually unincorporated St. Louis County. The thing you'll notice a lot in St. Louis County is that there are a ton of different municipalities, and there are a lot of complications that go along with that. That's not what this video is about. But as you can see here, so the yellow space is everything unincorporated. So most of Mid County and West County is incorporated St. Louis County. North County has some incorporated and some unincorporated. But then most of South County is actually unincorporated St. Louis County. And then you're going to have areas like Melville and Fenton with kind of some of the hubs of things going on. So you have the South County Center right here. And as you can see, all of your, shopping centers and strip malls along Lindbergh, that's a big one. Fenton has, a lot of companies in there, kind of same thing with the industrial space, warehouses, manufacturing, First Forms down there. And then one thing you'll notice too, once you get towards the edges of St. Louis County, whether you're going north, south, or out to the west, you just start to get into more of the rural parts of St. Louis. Now, I know I've talked a lot about the differences, especially with price and just style of neighborhood being one of the biggest ones, but the commonalities that are always going to be the same for the most part is that outside of your interstates going around, whether 270 or one of the 4 interstates going into the city, is that you're going to have a bunch of these major roads that tend to be busier with traffic, a lot of stoplights, so much more of that stop and go, especially during rush hour. But you're going to have all of your shopping, your strip malls along that. Regardless of the area and the style of neighborhoods you have, you're going to have those main arteries throughout. So St. Louis is definitely a very car-dependent place to live. Whether you're in the city, unless you plan on just staying within your neighborhood itself, if you're going from the downtown area to Central West End, or from, a city neighborhood out to the suburbs, and even just from North County to South County, having a car will make your life a lot easier to get around, just because St. Louis tends to be more of a kind of spread out, sprawling area. And then moving on, so we've talked about St. Louis City, we've talked about St. Louis County. St. Charles County is going to be the next big place we see people moving to the St. Louis area. So St. Louis City and St. Louis County have both been seeing year-over-year population loss. So it is kind of a shrinking area every year, people leaving to move elsewhere or moving to St. Charles County, which kind of has the inverse of St. Louis City and County, where it is just exploding with growth. So St. Charles County, completely different vibe compared to St. Louis County and St. Louis City. So if you come over here, you cross the Missouri River, and then you're going to be in St. Charles County. Some of the main ways you get there, 6440 will take you over there if you're going through the middle of St. Louis County. But then you have the Page extension over here. So Page turns into 364. That'll cross over. And then you've got 70. And then you've got 370 all the way up here. Depending on which way you want to get into St. Charles County, those are really your 4 main access points. And then, you can see from the map, it's a lot of just agricultural land. So there's not a ton going on up here. It's more of a sparsely populated area. And then St. Charles County will get a lot busier in between 70 and 64. Now, a lot of the new stuff is happening on the western side of St. Charles County, especially out in Wentzville. Just the further out west you go in St. Louis, you're going to notice you see more new construction. So you take an area like Chesterfield, for example, kind of a blend of St. Louis County and St. Charles County, where you do have a lot of new growth and a lot of new developments, but it's going to be way more expensive compared to O'Fallon, Lake St. Louis, and then especially Wentzville, again, the further out west you go. And that's one of the big draws to the area that we're seeing. So people that want to have a nicer, newer built house with some of those more upgraded finishes than you'll find in St. Louis County. North County and South County will sometimes have new construction at similar prices in St. Charles County, but one of the appeals is just the sheer number of options you will have in St. Charles County. You'll notice more of these cookie cutter homes, master plan developments pretty much everywhere. This is the kind of area where 20 years ago, it was a lot of agricultural farmland, and you'll still see that. If you want something that's more rural, similar to St. Louis County, you'll see that more on the edges. You do have some more of that though in St. Charles County, since as a whole, it is less developed than St. Louis County, but it's quickly catching up. So I mean, anywhere up here, north of Newtown, it starts to get very agricultural. All the way, around the northern edges above St. Paul and northern O'Fallon. And then again, you come out west over here past 6440 towards Defiance, Augusta, New Melle, anywhere out here, you're going to see that it's much more rural. You have some of the big hubs, Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon, and Wentzville are kind of the biggest areas seeing a lot of new construction. And then on the eastern side, you have not as much new stuff. St. Charles and St. Peter's tend to be on the older side, depending on where specifically you're looking, but you'll notice that. And then you have some cute areas like historic St. Charles. You have Old Town Cottleville right here. And then further west, you have kind of this historic district in Wentzville. So it's not like the whole area of St. Charles County is nothing but cookie cutter homes and big brand strip malls and shopping centers. It is a lot of that, but you do have kind of these pockets of more historic areas. We are definitely seeing a lot of people moving to the area from other parts of St. Louis. So people moving from North County, West County, South County out into St. Charles County, that's definitely a common thing. And I mean, just to show you kind of some examples of what the area looks like, it's just a lot of these kind of master planned areas. So I mean, right here, this is Inverness. That's one example. I mean, you just scroll in, and you will see it's much more of these mass developed neighborhoods. I mean, there's like half a dozen major builders out in St. Charles County where just the style of neighborhood that you'll see is a little bit different. You can see it's a lot newer built. Stuff like having a 1.5 story home with a 3-car garage is a lot more common. And you have new stuff pretty much everywhere in St. Charles County. It really depends on what you're looking for. So those are some of the main areas, and especially when it comes to moving to St. Louis, some of the areas we've had a lot of people reach out about. There are a lot of areas I didn't cover in this video. Could also go further west up here into Warren County. You've got Warrenton, Wright City, Innsbrook, and then Lincoln County, all the way up north over here. Moscow Mills and Troy are kind of the biggest cities in Lincoln County. And if you go further south, down into Jefferson County, it just starts to get a little bit more rural and more spread out. Same if you go west into Franklin County. You do have some cool areas like St. Albans and Washington, looking out over the river. Trust me, guys, every neighborhood, every town, whether you're in the city or one of the suburbs, you got a lot to pick from, and just an absolute ton of different towns that will have a complete night and day difference between some of the areas immediately next to them. So I hope that was helpful just to give you a general understanding of St. Louis. If you have questions about certain areas, I do have a lot more neighborhood and suburb deep dives on this channel, so feel free to watch those. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching. If you have any other questions or comments, let me know down below. I know there's a lot of stuff that I missed and that I didn't have time to talk about, but that's kind of your intro to the St. Louis area, at least on the Missouri side. So that's going to wrap it. Thank you for bearing with me, and I will see you in the next video right here on the Living St. Louis channel.